Get everybody on here. Hey.
What's up?
Oh, I'm nothing, just trying to get everybody on. How's your day going?
Going good. How about you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just got done with dinner for the dogs, so
Yeah.
man is fat and happy. I should probably mute my computer. Good job, Amanda. Smart.
There you go.
I know, right? Da, da, da. I am so smart. SMRD.
Hey, so are you one of Jonathan's?
Jonathan show?
Yeah.
I need to keep on not taking the opportunity. Matt's been they changed his schedule, so there's like weeks I don't see him except for like one day, and then so I need to now that he's actually has a day off, I need to ask him what his weekend looks like, if he's working or not that particular weekend. Because if he's not working, then I can go. If he is working, I don't have anybody watch the dogs, so let's see here. Why is my computer so slow? So Dawn is gonna get on here in a second. Michael, if you're on, try to send me a request to join, because it's not giving me the option. Normally, like if you pop on, it says, "Hey, bring them on camera." It's not letting me do that. All right. Let's see here. See if it'll let me add Dawn here. So it's adding Dawn. Oh, hey.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How's it going?
Oh, nothing. Just getting the guys on here. It looks like, yeah. It kicked Caleb off for some reason. That was weird. It was not me, I swear.
Uh-huh. I'm watching you. How's it going, Don?
Good. How's it going?
Good, man. I appreciate you joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm going to move this light. It's shining right in my eye.
Nathaniel, what's up, brother? Shoot, Brett, what's going on, man? Christian, what's up? Richard, how's it going?
Hey, Michael, try to hop off and then hop back on. For some strange reason, it's not letting me add you. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
You'll have that.
There we go. Okay. Michael! Oh. Okay, Christian. Wait, goodness gracious. Do you guys have any strange weather it's Ohio, yeah?
So we did live in Ohio. We're now right on the Ohio-Indiana border. So we get all kinds of crazy weather now.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do not envy you at all with that weather.
Oh, dude. Negative.
I will stay down here in the South, man.
Oh, that's the next move.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shoot, come on down.
Yeah, I used to live in Florida, but I don't like what comes with Florida.
Yeah, the hurricanes and everything.
Among other things.
Nah, just the tourist
Oh.
prices.
Yeah. Yeah, it's expensive there, that's for sure.
Just tourist
Valid.
prices. I can
Very,
deal with
very
weather.
valid.
Alligators, prices, and Floridians.
Yes.
Alligators are not that bad.
Alligators are not that
People are
bad.
worse.
Yes.
Alligator at least lets you know it wants to bite you.
Hey, that's true. That is very true. Oh.
Ah,
Yeah, when I was down there, me and a couple buddies, we used to go down to the Everglades and catch a bunch of stuff and take it into the wardens and stuff. And that was something we used to do. That it was cool.
What do you mean?
It was
Catch a bunch of stuff. Catch what?
yeah, I was
you know,
saying that. What do you
invasive
mean?
species
Hello.
that they pay you to bring in.
Wow. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool stuff, man.
Nile monitors, specific kinds
Michael,
of
what's
snakes,
up, man?
articulated pythons,
What's up,
things
baby?
like
I
that.
like that hat, man. Hey, are y'all selling those hats?
I mean,
Yeah, I saw those earlier on your.
I guess if people are wanting them,
Well, shoot. Hey, I'm gonna place an order for one, man. I want one.
all right. I got you one already.
Yeah, man. I always try to get everyone's hats, man. So I love them.
Yeah, I got one coming from BEK too. Just haven't got it yet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Christian, alligator meat's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
There's a place down there called Gator Joe's.
How about we trade hats? You
You
give
guys
me
are
one,
over there.
I'll get one.
Check that place out. It's delicious.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I remember being in New Orleans and they had a gator cheesecake and I didn't know how to feel about it.
I would try it.
I don't know. You're braver than I because I sat there and looked at it and was like,
I would try it. I would try everything once.
Exactly. Hey, I'm with you. If it's edible, I will eat it. I will try it once before I make a judgment.
Yeah, I know, like, some people are like, oh, I don't eat seafood and things like that. Like, for longest, like, for years, I didn't eat vegetables. Nope, not one. That's a lie. I did eat peas. That was it. Peas was the cutoff.
Out of all of the vegetables, you chose peas, but, like, that's the one I'll eat.
I'm a texture person.
yeah.
So, like, broccoli, I don't like the snappy plant life feeling.
Yeah, it's like a mini tree.
Yeah, but if you cook some peas good, you can mush them with your tongue. They're pretty easy.
Yeah. they do make it relatively palatable.
Yes.
Well, we'll go ahead and get started. So how we like to start this, Don, is we like to have you introduce yourself as well as your name. If you have a business, your business name and what you do, and then how you got started with American Bullies. Take it away.
Okay, first off, I am Don Johnson. I am the lucky owner of GrCh Crypto, the first Grand Champion Merle American Bully in any registry in the world. That was a long battle. We'll get into that in a moment. I'm very lucky, very honored to be able to do stuff like this. Thank you guys for having me. I am the owner and operator of Done Right Bully Kennel. You can find us at www.donerightbullykennel. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram with the exact same spelling, Done, D-O-N-E, Right Bully Kennel. We specialize specifically, our goal is the Merles. We like to push the Merles. We want them in the show ring. That's kind of the big goal, but You know, obviously with that, we obviously want to produce, you know, healthy dogs with breed type that, you know, can still function. Like, I know everyone's on the micro kick. We love them too. Don't get me wrong. I have one female off of Crypto. Her name's Brownie. She's, you know, under 11 inches, but still fully functional.
Yeah.
So like I like to push it a little bit, but I still like to, you know, keep the dogs healthy and, you know, still be able to have a good life. I don't want a dog that I need to have, you know, multiple surgeries on to keep him walking around and things like that. I don't like all that.
Goodness gracious. Okay, so show ring. So for anybody that isn't familiar with present day ABKC standards, they allow Merles, as they call them, blotched. They allow them to be registered, but they still haven't allowed them in the show ring. They are not sanctioned to be in the show ring. So obviously that can be an uphill battle. No one knows that better than you, obviously. So when it comes to the American Bully, not necessarily just the Merle American Bully, but what got you into American Bullies in the first place?
So it's actually funny. Okay. It's really a funny story. So when I was graduating high school, 2013, 2013, I graduated. The final thing was our, you know, final project. We had to find something that we were interested in, but knew nothing about and write about it. So I just get on the internet and I'm looking. I'm like, you know, I like animals. At the time, I was breeding betta fish. So I bred
Yeah.
betta fish all through high school, betta fish and reptiles. At that time, it was leopard geckos and ball pythons. But I found while I was researching, I found there was a dog named Louis B. And I was like, oh, this dog looks crazy, you know. And so I started doing research. I'm like, dude, these things are really cool. But then I got down to the price tag, and I was like, that's not going to happen. This is perfect to write about because I'll never own one, right? So I wrote this whole big thing about them. Truthfully, I got a C because apparently my spelling was horrible.
Oh no!
But I still graduated. It's like the only thing I ever got a bad grade on, and but that's how I found them, you know. So I had learned about them briefly, like, you know, what was used to create them, how they were, you know, where that breed was at, and at that
Yeah.
time, you know, the breed wasn't where it is now, but they were still nice dogs, right?
Yeah.
So then at the time I was like, I'll never be able to afford that thing. So I'm not even going to look at it. But, you know, like I said, I did like dogs. So as I was researching, you know, and I had an uncle who bred, you know, old school game dogs. They were really cool. He just bred them because he liked them. You know, he never got into all the sporty stuff with them, but they were nice. And he had one, I'll never forget his name. He was a blue dog. His name was Max. He paid a lot of money for this dog. Max was like, he was a box of rocks, but he was cool. He was cool. He just, yeah, he was cool. Really good dog. He just wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
He was the special one. So I really liked Max. But anyway, that kind of steered me towards the bully look. Then I always liked bulldogs. Like I always jokingly used to say I would get English because they just sit on the couch and do nothing. So
You can teach him to ride a skateboard, though.
you can. Yeah, Rob Deerdeck did, didn't he? But that's how I found them. I didn't own one for years after that. Actually, we continued breeding the ball pythons and things like that.
Yes.
And then after that, I did retics. That was a whole different monster. And then, you know, finally I was like, all right, I'm done with these big old snakes. All they do is want to eat me. So I got out of those, and then I was like, holy crap, I finally have the money to get a dog, like a real dog.
Oh boy.
So then I got a bully. No, it wasn't Crypto. Crypto was not the beginning. My first dog, her name was Tootsie Roll. She was a 2 times Vin Diesel granddaughter, straight edge female.
Yeah.
Beautiful female. She was actually, I jokingly say she was my best purchase. That female, I paid, it's like $2,000, I think. It was around $2,000. It wasn't very high. But ABKC female,
beautiful for what she was. Structure was amazing, I'll say that. But she was an amazing mom. She always she was an amazing mom. Like I learned so much just from having her, versus like when I got into other um, bullies and they were like not such great moms. So I learned all about that stuff real bright and early. That was kind of cool, because you don't learn things until you go through them. I don't care how many books you read or videos you watch. Once you're going through something, you learn a very different way. So that
Yes.
was like a really long process. But the Merles themselves specifically, even when I did that report, I was like, dude, this dog would be cool if it was Merle. Like, it would just be cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, like, I used, time passed. We had Tootsie. We bred for probably 2 years, you know, working this blood and
Yeah.
seeing how things grow. What happens if you do this, because that's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
By breeding and producing things, you kind of play scientist. Everything's
Yeah.
Yeah.
an
Everything
experiment.
but
You
the
don't
last one.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything but
you
the
don't
last
really
one.
know. I mean, you can line up the best breeding that sounds so good in your head, and the DNA is like this is gonna be it, and everything like that, and then you have the puppies, and you're like, well, that's not what I planned. So that
Yeah. Oh,
that I learned with that and things like that. It was kind of cool, but it was always I always said like I like that dog, but it would be so much cooler if it was Merle.
Yeah.
right.
So I actually bought my first Merle from a guy named Romeo in the Carolinas, and I used him to produce my first versions of Merles, which they still were off of the Lucky line, so they were always clean, correct, things like that. I really enjoyed that with that blood. They were actually off of Crypto's great grandmother's sister, so that was kind of cool how that works. It was very similar, just still different, I guess.
Yeah.
Like yeah, once we seen Merles, like the bulldogs, obviously everyone knows Merle by like a bulldog or a what's that herding dog? It's
What's Catahouli? Something like
Everyone?
that. Yeah.
yeah, those things they're crazy. They have too
Oh,
much.
I didn't know they're psycho. They're, I
I
mean,
got
they'll
yeah,
pull a person.
I did
They
when I
don't
was
care.
researching everything. I found them and I like was watching videos and things on them and I was like, whoa, those things got some drive.
Catahoula? Sure. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. They are
And
I think
actually, it's
I think the
funny.
Merle came to our breed with the
Galapagos.
yeah the Alapaha Blue Bloods.
Yep.
That's
That's what I've heard as well.
yeah.
So
They're
for
kind of like
me,
the American Bulldog.
yeah, they're similar. For me, I believe that. So if you do research, Merles date back to forever ago. Back before cameras and things like that. But I think they got into the breed the exact same way that the breed was created, the exact same way that everything is created. They take this breed of dog and this breed, they breed it together. You know, so it's Pomskis. Every dog, if you think about it, they're all of the really wanted designer breeds, things like that. They all come from some type of mutt,
F1 mix.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
mixing this with that. So I think I firmly believe Merle came in the exact same way that the breed was created. Merle dogs were in the original ABKC stud book, so it's not like someone somewhere was like, "I'm gonna
Family
sneak
through something in.
this little breeding." And no,
Yeah.
it wasn't like that. There's been Merle since the beginning, but since the beginning, they did keep them out of the show ring just because everything surrounding them, which we'll touch on that. So I do firmly believe that it either came from, like you said, the A word bulldog. I can't pronounce that.
Well, he and I both pronounce it differently.
or the
Like, I don't know what he
English.
called it, but I was like the
Yeah.
Alapahan. He's like the Alapahan. I'm like, I don't know.
Or
Tomato, tomato.
here's
Who knows?
Motto, yeah.
another thing that I thought about too, because there's no real way to tell, right? We'll never know for sure. Just like we'll never know for sure what dogs truly created the breed. Um,
Talk and check.
Merle pit bulls. Merle pit bulls have been around forever. So let's not take that
Yeah.
out of the equation either.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
truly, it's just like the breed. You'll never truly know.
This is fair. This is true.
So for the origins, that's kind of my
Sure.
standpoint
Oh,
there.
absolutely. Absolutely. So when you finally got the Merle that your first foundation, uh, how did you approach that? Because obviously I knew, you've talked about how much you love the Merle pattern, but that you were aware that there were kind of tricks of the trade. So when you initially got your first Merle, like basically what was your approach? What were you trying to avoid, or, what were you trying to be very, very careful with, and why?
Okay, so the Merle line that I actually started with was off of Wanda Cruz's work. So I looked into what everything she's done, and then at the time, I had already done a bunch of research on Merles before I ever owned one. So I've already been watching people do this and things, and I'm learning and I'm following things. And then like there were certain dogs that I liked since they were puppies, so I followed them, throughout their time and what they did and things like that. My favorite Merle though truly was probably Haka. I thought had the most substance. So like that's kind of where I kind of like was like, ooh, that thing's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first started with them, the things that I was focused on truly at the time, I was very stiff on like, I want the dog to be, exactly this. I want the functionality. I want it to be able to jump, run, play, all that stuff. And then, as that developed, I was like, I do like that. But I do like them a little bit more extreme.
Yeah.
So, we started working that too. So it really like the biggest thing, truthfully, with Merle, and there's, a big thing around the Merle, like, oh, it's bad. You can't do this. You can't do that. Okay. So my standpoint on that is very different than most people. Okay. So in order to correctly breed dogs, okay, first off, with any dog, right, you obviously don't want to breed health hazard to health hazard. Okay. That doesn't work in any world. It shouldn't be done. Okay. Um, So that's the same with Merles. Off the top, we're not going to breed a health hazard. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I find interesting is, everyone's like, oh, well, you can't breed a Merle to a Merle. You're right. You absolutely can't. Well, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You should not. There are people in other countries who do, and that's what they do. There are people in other breeds, that's what they do. I personally don't do it.
Right.
It's the risk doesn't outweigh the reward. I won't do it. There are people who do. That's on them. I've seen it, watched it. That I just am not comfortable with any of that personally. So, but with that being said, yeah, no, you can't breed a Merle to a Merle. So with that being said, there's another little glitch there, right? What's the most common thing we see in our breed?
I
Very,
mean,
very strong, very, very elongated work of inbreeding,
yeah.
right? So there's this weird thing there. People think, oh no, I need to inbreed this to this, and then inbreed it again and inbreed it again. Well, outcrosses are beautiful.
Yes.
There's also a thing called line breeding. So like with the Merles, that delays all of that, right?
Yeah. Kind of forces you to go
It
out.
kind of forces that stuff kind of harder and more elongated. So like when I do a breeding, here, baby. When I do a breeding, I don't actually this is a common thing that people ask me. They're like, "Are you doing that breeding because you want this and that in a Merle?" Truthfully, no. No, I build the dog. Okay, I build the dog. While I'm building the dog, and I'm looking like, okay, this dog here might have a short upper arm, so obviously I can't breed it to a dog with a short upper arm. A lot of people don't even know that's a thing, you know. Or if I look at the shoulder assembly, and I'm like, all right, that one's got really big chest, super spread, but his shoulder assembly's kind of whack.
Yeah.
I'm not going to breed it to a female who has the same situation, right? So why would I do that with Merles, right? If it's already something you shouldn't do, why would you do it? That's like, if I know I shouldn't do this, I'm going to do a double.
Yeah.
If
Oh,
they give
boy.
you a shot of venom, if they put a shot of venom in front of you and they're like, you shouldn't drink this,
Take
but
two
then
of
they
them.
put another one next to it and you drink both, I guess you really wanted to mess up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, let me just completely blow this
Yeah.
out the water.
Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So, I mean, obviously then, that comes into question. People are like, well, what about Merle carriers? There's a
That
thing called a test you can do. You're going to swab your dog's mouth. You're going to send it in. It's going to cost you a couple $100. Truthfully, if you do the entire litter, they give you a litter discount.
I do.
So you can send that in, and it's going to tell you everything that dog carries, right? We should be doing this anyway. So really, are you taking extra steps?
Right. Yeah, you should be doing it anyways. So if anything, Merle almost, like if you're breeding Merles, it almost gives you this hyper awareness of things that you, like ethical practices that you should be doing already.
I would say that, yes, but I'm also at the same time, I'm not going to say that it's something everyone should love, okay? Because with that, it's like, you know, I'm not a fan of certain breeds, right? But that doesn't mean I'm going to get online and be like, oh, that breed is this. No, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has their own cup of tea. You know, just because I drink unsweet doesn't mean you do. You might like sugar. You know, so that's
I
kind of
know
how
what
I look at
somebody.
that.
I know what somebody better not do is breed Merles and not have some kind of genetic testing because
I mean,
you
yeah,
have to know what you actually have, not what you think you have when it comes to
Yeah.
Merle, for sure.
I
100%.
absolutely agree with you. And then I just want to put a little bullet next to yours. Shouldn't we do that anyway?
There we go.
I know I do.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not being rude or nothing, but it's a real
Yeah.
general question. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people say, well, you have to do extra testing. Well, do you? Because shouldn't we be doing that anyway?
Yeah.
I think we
That's
should
just,
definitely do it, period. I agree with
I,
that 100%. But
I completely
I
agree.
think that you're blind either way, whether it's Merle or not, without it.
Without,
But
correct. It's literally genetic Russian roulette
right,
without testing
I've
the
told
dogs.
Caleb
Period.
before, like say there's different brands, different cup of teas, but Embark, for example, it's like a flashlight in the dark. Everybody else is running around in the dark guessing, and you're able to actually see with light what's going on, what is not
Mhm.
going on, and so it makes all the difference in the world. When it comes to Merles, it's a mutation gene, so it's potentially dangerous. Like you could cause defects and health problems in that dog, not just bringing in traits that you want and don't want, or short upper arm, or whatever. It's not just like
Especially like
breeding
death,
breeding breeding in,
blind.
breeding in
Yeah.
traits that you're like, I shouldn't have breed two medium muzzled dogs together, and because I'm not getting anywhere. It's more like you could cause kidney problems, or different issues of the dog's health, which is
Oh
which
yeah.
is a little more crucial. I think Embark is crucial across the board, or or
100%.
or any of them. But I think with Merles, you're actually taking like health risks more so than you are with some other dogs. But I agree with you there
So
totally.
I agree with you to an extent. Okay. And the reason I'm going to say that is this. Okay. I do agree with you that there is a risk, but truthfully, being true, okay, 100% truthful, open book, it's the same risk that you take when you breed your other dogs. And the reason I'm going to say that, right, is because unless you're literally taking two Merle dogs and you're breeding them, you're not doing any genetic testings,
Yeah.
things like that. You're kind of taking the same risk, right? So let's touch on that. If you have a dog that when you tested it and it pops up, this dog carries one copy of CRD4, right?
Mhm.
And you breed that dog to another dog that carries CRD4, is that more of a health risk than breeding your dog to a dog who's Merle with no health issues?
Yeah. When I'd be
No,
more worried about
well,
taxi
You
than
know what I'm
fear
saying? Now,
before.
I'm not saying that that's
Yeah.
an exact reference, okay? Because
yeah,
there's
Yeah.
people who I've seen
CRD4 is
people breed.
irrelevant now
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
I breed.
I mean, I've seen people
It's
breed
Right,
to dogs that there was no
right.
Merle in the genetic
Mhm.
code, and they ran into issues that were like, how does this even happen? And
Right.
it's like, okay, so something I learned when I was breeding beta fish, because beta fish are a very, very difficult thing to do successfully. The reason that they're difficult to do successfully is because they are not a species that will just breed to breed. They don't care like that, right? So it's not oh, I'm just breeding to continue the bloodline. No. When a male beta fish and a female beta fish come into contact, right, the first thing that they'll do is the male's going to blow a big bubble nest, and he's going to try to woo her by flexing and, making himself look all pretty. Then they're going to fight.
Oh wow.
That's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They're going to fight. And if she decides that he is too weak, she will kill him.
Wow.
If he decides that she is too weak, he will kill her. So, so like for me, I always like bred things that weren't, peaches and cream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean that Merle breeding to Merle is a bad
Yeah,
thing at
no,
all.
no,
That's not what I'm
no,
saying.
no. I know you didn't.
I'm saying
Some
I'm
people.
saying you might have a dog with like a tenth of one eye that's a different color, and you think like, oh, that's a spot in the eye. It could be the only visible sign that that dog is Merle, and then there's no other visible way to
Until you do the
tell at
embark
all. I
and you
mean,
find
Yeah,
the
that's when
allele
you
that's
do your
chilling out there.
embark.
You're like,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah, or you don't embark and you breed that dog to a Merle, not knowing it's already Merle. You know what I mean? And now
Yeah.
you've doubled up, like you said,
yeah.
and you
Now
shouldn't do that.
you're running into all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
Right.
and that's now. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna get into that one. It's other
Well,
people's research. I didn't play with it, so I
yeah.
don't speak on it.
Well,
You know what I'm saying? Like
I mean,
I walk that line. Like if if you ask me a question about something and I don't know, I'm gonna tell you honestly, I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't help you
yeah.
there.
I respect
Well,
that.
and I mean, end all be all, what Mike said, it is a flashlight in the dark to have your dogs genetically tested because there are a lot of things that it's not even just Merle to Merle. That's obviously that's that baseline, don't do it. And Embark
Yeah.
can tell you, hey, this is a Merle, stupid. Don't breed it to another Merle. But yeah, it does prevent you breeding to other dogs that have, for example, ataxia. Ataxia is a bigger problem than you think it is. That's a neurological disorder, and you don't want to breed a dog that has ataxia to another one that has ataxia. Because guess what? You're going to end up with a bunch of affected dogs, and that does affect the breed. Unlike CRD4, which they haven't really proven effects. Really, the dogs are
Embark
our
doesn't even
dogs are
test for
typically
They don't
really
test for it no
strong
CRD4.
enough.
more.
Well,
They don't even.
I do
they're not
believe that they
supposed to.
stopped testing
They're not
for it
supposed
because it
to,
was
but
non-breed
yeah,
related.
correct. Exactly. But yeah, things like ataxia, among other things, double dilutes. That's another one that a lot of people don't really think is a big deal. I'm like, oh, I don't think you understand. Yes, it is.
Yeah, some.
Double dilutes, you're going to have skin issues for the rest of your life that are literally debilitating. Like these dogs are going to live miserable effing lives because their skin will just never heal and it'll always be irritated by literally everything because it's a double dilute, because you didn't think about that when you were breeding your dilute to another dilute. So I'm telling you, the embark is important for literally everybody. So just like you said, Don, it's like these are practices we should be doing anyways. I mean, Merles, yes, they should be doing it for the obvious reason, but so should everybody else for those other reasons.
Yeah. So let's see here. Here's one that I seen that caught my eye. Natural occurring pattern in the dogs at first. So that would actually be false. Because it is technically a natural occurring pattern in the breed, considering the breed was founded with Merles in the originating factors. So some of the originating studs that created this breed were Merle. So therefore, technically, if we're being honest and honoring the definition of it, they would be naturally occurring because they were used in the creation of the breed.
How do you feel about Merles being bred to, like, say, piebald or something like that?
Ooh, that's fun.
That's a fun one. Um,
Oh,
so
good.
it's kind of interesting because with that being said, Lamborghini, Crypto's father, is I would consider him an extreme piebald because he is a solid white dog from the front. When you turn him around, he's got a giant chocolate tri-merle spot like this on his booty and down his legs. He has a little corner right here, So a lot of people say that you shouldn't do that, right?
Mhm.
I will say that I have seen people breed Merles to piebalds and it go fine. I have not personally seen an issue, but I'm also going to follow that with this. The people who did that also did genetic testings. Their dogs were healthy from the beginning. Their dogs weren't, having other issues and things like that. So I believe that's a big part as well, right? Now, do I think you should just deliberately be like, hey, I'm going to breed my piebald Merle to a piebald? I don't think so, but I also don't aim for piebald dogs, and I don't like to roll my dice too too loaded either.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
that's fair.
like, I mean, I remember at one point they were saying, you know, like tries, right? Tan points. I remember when tan points were like a big no-no. Like, oh no, you know, and then what it took,
Like, where did this come from?
yeah, it took some years, and then now everything, people love a try dog, you know, them tan points, people love that. So I think like this, you know, during the time that the ABKC rules were written and there wasn't a lot of research and things done in order to understand the Merle, I feel like it was something that should have been put into place, right? Because there wasn't testing. I mean, there was testing, but it's not like what it was now,
It's not, it
right?
wasn't
So I
as
think for the
accessible.
time and the beginning of the breed, I think it was a smart play, right? But now I believe that it's a new world. You know, things are different. You can breed. I mean, let's be honest, right? No matter if your dog's Merle or not, you take a certain amount of risk just breeding it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Right. It just takes a very, there's a risk. Okay. So that's something. And then, you know, then people do with the cryptic, right? So cryptic to me, I don't really agree with. And the reason I'm going to say that is any dog that I have had personally, and I'm speaking from personal experience, right? Because there's going to be people who disagree. Um, on dogs out of my litters that were not Merle in your eyes, you could not find a Merle spot, right? When I tested them, they did not carry.
There was no
There,
Merle allele.
there was no alleles. There was nothing. The dog did not carry any version, right? And like I said, I go over my puppies very extensively.
Yeah.
Very. Like I have some females that you wouldn't even know were Merle unless they rolled on their belly, and you're going to find 2 spots.
You're like,
yeah,
Yep. So when you test those, of course they pop up for Merle.
yeah.
Okay. But now for me, my experience, I have not had a dog that I could not find a hint of Merle test positive for Merle. In my experience, never had it happen. And like there's times too that I'm like swabbing mouse and I'm like, this is going to be the one that proves me wrong.
Yeah. Just waiting
And
for
it
it.
doesn't.
And it never does.
So like,
So they
Aw.
say there's such a thing, but you're saying you haven't actually seen it yourself.
yeah, because technically for it to be cryptic, there would have to be absolutely
No
no
visible
Sure.
sign.
yeah,
no visibles, right?
Mhm.
So in order for it to be, and then that's, like I said, my experience.
yeah,
There, I'm sure someone's going to come out of the woodwork from Taiwan and be like, yo, I had it happen. I just haven't seen it personally.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Not like how you.
everything that I go off of is what I have dealt with, or the people that I go to for questions and things like that. If they tell me like, yeah, I haven't seen that either, and I haven't seen it, then I don't know
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's always
how accurate
some
that
sort of
is.
trace it is. Well,
Yeah.
and the thing is, a lot of people don't take into consideration that, you know, there's skin underneath all that, you know, all that fur. And sometimes that's where those traits are actually
Mhm.
visible. But the coat is just either too thick or it's the perfect
Yeah.
color to hide the
Yeah.
actual
Yeah.
moral
Like
trait, you know, pattern. So it's not that they're cryptic, it's just you
Yeah.
can't see.
yeah.
Like you can
Raul
tell.
just said that.
Visually, you can't tell. Those
Yeah,
signs are
like
there.
what's his name? Raul said red can cover up Merle very well. Yeah, red, you know, fawn
Very,
dogs. I'm gonna use
very.
fawn dogs for a very, very specific reason. They just hide it. It
Yeah.
just you know, the Merle spots on a fawn dog, they almost just you know, you'd
Yeah.
be like, all right, is it wet? You know, white hide stuff.
Is it raining?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, think about this, like, you know, white hide stuff, right? Because the like Lamborghini, everyone, you know, when you see just a front side of the dog, just the front, you see a little tan dot, and you would think, oh, that's just a piebald dog. No, he's a chocolate tri Merle piebald.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, the white just hides everything.
Oh,
What about Merle to a brindle ticked? You can do it. You can do
that's
it.
right.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
There's a guy I follow in Canada. His name's Isaac Rain. He actually
Mhm.
specializes in literally just patterns and genetic things. Like, he's not a guy who breeds for pedigrees. He doesn't do all that. He has his breeding stock, and what he breeds for is a look, patterns, eye color, things like that. That's what he does. That's what he enjoys. And it's really interesting to watch, because he does really good. Like,
Yeah.
his dogs, he's got things dialed in.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Hey,
oh yeah.
hey, Don.
Yeah, Merle is a
Tell us.
pattern, guys. It's not a color. Color would be like lilac, chocolate, blue, things like that.
Brindle can even be is a color, but
Yeah, brindle's a color.
that's
I would.
Right. Not a
It's
pattern.
so
Exactly.
brindle's a
Merle
hard
is a
one.
pattern. Brindle's a color.
Brindle, I think, is a in my opinion. I sometimes wonder if Brindle is not misinterpreted. That's a thought. That's not a fact. That's something that I think about, because, right. So in order for it to be considered a pattern, it would have to change it would have to change the pattern of the dog, right? Yes, it's a color. It definitely changes the color of the dog, but doesn't it also change the pattern?
I personally like it. It took a long time to like basically come to grips with the fact that brindle's considered a color, not a pattern. Because I too always felt like it's a pattern.
Yeah.
But I've always felt that way about tan points, tries, no matter the breed. I always considered that kind of a pattern because it's a break point between colors. It's colorblind, So as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, that's a pattern. But at the same time, it's like I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
Exactly. We can only work off of the things that we are told are facts, which daily the news shows us that's all rubbish.
Yeah.
But they call brindle a color. So I will say this,
Yeah.
there's people. I mean, I've even produced tan point brindle Merles. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're fine. They don't have a higher risk of health issue. Not that I've seen. In fact, if I'm being honest, Grand Champion Crypto, healthier than a lot of dogs that I have, owned in the past. Right? So everyone said when I was going to get crypto, everyone told me, it's a wave. It's gonna pass. It's gonna be cool
It's
for a
bad.
couple weeks. No one's gonna care.
It's
And I
bad.
was like, oh, okay. That's everyone's opinion. We're all entitled to
Yeah.
have them.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just,
yeah.
for me to have a bully or anything in general, any dog that I like. Okay, do I want the same one everyone else has in a breed? Let's stop there though. In a breed, none of them are the same. Let's just be honest. Let's call it what it is. It's a beautiful thing. I love it. I love the breed for this reason. There's so many different flavors. You don't have to like what I like. I don't have to like what you like. But we all represent the breed,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, we're the only breed that has as many classes as we do.
This is true.
So if we have all of that going on, and you're gonna, to be like, okay, well, that pattern, no. But we can line up dogs of all the classes together, and let's start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning and work our way to the end. I think we have other things to worry about.
Oh yeah, we have much bigger fish to fry than whether or not
That's
Merle
my
is,
opinion, though. That's my opinion.
No,
I
agree
think
with that.
I think if I look at a German Shepherd, it looks like a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
If I look at a bully, it should look like a bully.
Mhm.
First sentence is the bully should represent great strength for his size. If it doesn't get past the first sentence,
Well, oh no, absolutely, and it is one of those things where that's something that the breed as a whole struggles with, is the consistency. I've always kind of and actually Rolando Mata is he's the man that put this in my head. But essentially, I should have absolutely zero confusion when I look at your dog. I should immediately know that either it is a specific breed or it's a mutt. You know what I mean? And there are far too many out there that when you look at it, it's like, oh, Like, is that bulldog? What is that? Is that should we ask? Is that rude? Like, and
So
you know,
I like that you brought that up because that's kind of a cool point with our breed, right? So the cool thing about the American Bully, you can like your dogs to have a little bit more features from one side of the genetic pool or the
Yeah.
other, whichever side you prefer the look, but the dog should still look bully, right? I mean, if it's an American Bully, when you see it, it should look American Bully, I mean, all the way to XLs. I've seen some XLs that I'm like, there's no denying what that is. And then I've seen other ones I'm like, yo, that's a Mastiff with some cropped ears.
you're like, is that a bulldog? What is that?
Yeah, like so, but now let's rewind though. That goes down to our breed too. Even the standard class. If you look
Yeah.
at the standard class, you'll see dogs, you're like, that's a bully. And then you'll see another one, you're like, are you sure that ain't supposed to be in the pit class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is that an Amstaff?
You're bringing
You
in
know,
stuff in my ring.
then we get down to the even further. We look at extreme dogs. We look at pockets, extremes, any of them, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be dogs that favor one end of the spectrum and dogs that favor the other. But because that's what our breed does, our breed is, it's just supposed to have a specific look, right? There is a standard to breed to, but by allowing so many classes and so many flavors,
We're swimming upstream.
that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, at that same time, I might not like a certain look. This person might love that look, and they might think my dog is the ugliest thing walking. That's completely fine. Our breed kind of able for that,
Yeah.
right? Because the American Bully headpiece, let's just start there. The American Bully headpiece, when you pull up the ABKC, look at that headpiece.
Yeah.
Look at that headpiece. Go to the next, go to a big shows, right? Any registry, look at the headpiece, look at the dog, go to the show, look at what's in the ring, right? The other thing that I think too is, I see a lot of dogs that are beautiful dogs. They represent the breed great, but they don't get bred to, right? They're really good show dogs, things like that. But then you look at other dogs and you're like, well, everyone's breeding to that thing.
Yeah.
So now then that raises another question: which one should technically be the standard?
Yeah.
If we're a community who is building, right? Something that's getting built has to have adjustments.
Oh yeah, we're still so young.
Anything that's getting built, any community, society, even when they came to America and made it that, there were rules. As time goes on, rules are no longer part of what it should be, right? I mean, laws get changed every day. Laws get changed every day. Something that was, like alcohol. How long was alcohol a whole thing that was completely illegal? The prohibition. Let's start there. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of hard because at the same time of if the Merles were in the original stud books, they helped start the breed. Okay. There wasn't a lot of people knew a lot about it. I understand that. I understand people bred Merle to Merle. Some crazy things happened. Yeah. Well, that's kind of part of learning. They have to do things. But yeah, no, not everyone should be breeding Merles. I'm going to say that. Edit it,
There we
clip it, share
go.
it. Not everyone should be breeding Merles. Not everyone.
Yeah.
It's not something that I think someone with no breeding experience should jump in and be like, yeah, I'm breeding Merles. Because those are the guys who push the limit way too far and things happen.
Right.
But with that being said, the same thing happens when they go out, they buy this dog, they turn around, they buy his littermate brother from the dude who bought it before him. They take them home, they breed them. Sometimes go good, sometimes maybe shit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's breeding is an absolute and utter gamble, but you got to work with the tools that you're
Yep.
given,
And the
and
tools we're
Barker's is
given,
one of
we
those
have the
many
ability.
tools.
We have the ability to test.
Mhm.
We have the ability to go to the vet. I mean, you should have a dog that you're planning on breeding should have a very good vet record anyway. Like, you should be having that dog
Cardiac.
checked out,
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cardiac is a must
Down
Yeah,
with
we had
to,
this.
talked about it on here one time that, it's really not a bad idea for breeders to have some kind of validated education, some kind of like, yeah, he knows what he's talking about to some degree, at least to some extent. And then just let anybody mating dogs and calling themselves breeders, right? But like you should have to know like a driving permit test, like
I
you
completely
got to get in a car
agree.
with somebody that knows how to drive, and let's make sure that you can make a left-hand turn with a turn signal, or because
I completely agree. You know, the
Learn
only reason I
permit.
feel that wouldn't work,
Uh-oh.
the only reason I feel that wouldn't work is because, you know, in the animal production business, which is what it is, right? It doesn't matter if you're a hobbyist, you do 2 breedings a year. Guess what?
Yeah.
Congratulations, you have a business.
Yeah.
It is business, absolutely.
Anytime you take a item or a product and you exchange it for funds, there you go.
Oh, money.
Congratulations. Whether you say you do it for the money or not, you did. You did.
In this instance, yeah, you got money for
so
product.
you don't
that
think
you
it'll work
spend.
because it's a business?
Well, the reason I say that is because it's a business that would be very hard to control.
There we go.
So in order for that to happen, there would have to be a board
Over
established,
the
meaning
oversight
all
alone.
of the
Oh,
registries would have to agree upon
Mm-hmm.
something.
yes.
And then everyone would have to decide who's going to withhold everything that these different businesses agreed to, right? I mean, that's like the doctors and stuff. You know what I mean? Back in we were, you know, eating raw steaks and things. That guy didn't have no school doctorate. He was just the guy who had a grandma who said she talked to spirits and told her how to cure people.
She's like,
And
whenever I
then
have a fever, I bleed
and then
myself.
you go
Like, oh,
down the family line, and his great 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 grandson was a doctor. So it would be something that they would all have to agree to. And then, you know, here's the other thing. How would they even control that? What are they going to do?
what's
How
the
would they
plan?
control
What's the
that?
better
What? Oh,
operating
when you
procedure?
send in your puppy registration, they would have to be like, you didn't pay to be a breeder this year. That's
Yeah,
literally the most they can
it's a
do.
heavy audit.
Yeah.
That's a heavy audit. And I'm sorry, like you'd have to literally hire an entire group
Yeah,
of
you're talking
people
about a
to
multi-million
oversee that.
dollar. Yeah, and then at that point, then it would have to go from bullies to
Yeah.
Frenchies to English to all the way down to poodles.
Mm-hmm.
It would never work. I don't think. You know,
Yeah.
you're talking about an entire.
Would that be ideal, Mike? Absolutely.
It's
Yeah,
I wholeheartedly agree
it's
that would be.
super.
that's what we
I
talked
agree.
about before. I don't know how
Yeah.
you could do it, but
But it's, yeah,
Burning
just
down a
it's
lot
not.
of money.
Ugh, I
yeah.
hear you. I hear you. Well, the the big thing as far as like what's prominent mostly now. I know that some people have gotten past the whole, you know, timidity when it comes to breeding merles. Right now, it feels like the hot topic is, are they or aren't they? In regards to, are they ever going to make it into their founding registry's show ring? All these other registries, they do, they accept and they acknowledge the Merle, and they're sanctioned. So they're allowed to be in the show ring. They're allowed to get titled in these other registries. But in their founding registry, they're still not allowed in the ring. They would be disqualified if they even walked in. So this seems to be like a battle that you're fighting. Because I know that you're showing your Merles pretty religiously. And so what are your, do you feel like this, like them becoming sanctioned within the ABKC is going to be something that's achievable? Do you think it's going to be soon or rather than later? Or, what do you think?
2 seconds.
Oh, how do I say this?
So I think, like, I'm going to go back to what I said previously. Every rule, you know, every law written has been revised at some point. I think that is one that the great mothership of the ABKC, if they have any um, ears open to hear this, would be to relook at that rule. I do not think that it pertains to where the breed is at anymore. I mean, I don't think everyone should breed them, like I said, but for us people who do it on a very, very calculated way, we do everything that we can do to go above and beyond and make sure we're creating a healthy animal. I think there should be some type of talk, maybe even, of what about that? I mean, what if I can bring a dog into your presence that has more breed type, fits your standard more, and and is a Merle dog with no health issues?
Yeah.
I mean, we do it. We do it. Edwin Handeman, Jordan Davies. I mean, I could give you a list. MG2, owned by Brian Chamel. There's a bunch of people doing it. Roger Stout with Ice Age. There's so many people doing it, and you I'm just saying it's not as big of a issue as some of the other things that the breed faces. Am I saying that we should take a issue and throw a fire into it? No, but I am saying, hey, Crypto's sister is Chocolate Try. She's not Merle. I guarantee she wouldn't get no spit about it. They look the same.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
They look
Same
the
little,
same.
she'll
Crypto,
walk
I have
away
an
with
I
it.
have a list. I have a list of non-Merle crypto kids that I'm getting ready to campaign in the ABKC myself.
Heck yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
And that comes to the next question. They're off of a Merle.
Yes.
They can show.
There we go.
They can show, but not their dad who created them.
Right.
Not you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I feel like there should be some type of conversation about potentially changing it, or potentially even having a meeting. Do some digging. Talk within your judges. See what your judges think. I mean, there are going to be some judges that are like, Merle, no. And they're allowed for that. They're allowed to have that opinion. That's fine.
Right.
There's going to be other judges that are like, hey, I don't see an issue. They're allowed to have that opinion.
Yeah.
But, I will say there are a lot of nice Merle dogs that should be in that show ring that have not been able to participate. And I do believe that whether the dog is Merle or not, it should be able to be in the same ring as the rest of its breed, because if it was a DQ in the beginning, why was it able to be in the originating picks, right, with the originating
Yeah.
of the breed?
The
Because
original.
technically, by allowing it to be in the beginning, it was allowed.
Yeah. And it seemed like in all reality, because of the original stigma with breeding Merles and the fact that we knew damn good and well that there were so many people that didn't know what they were doing. Breeding Merles to Merles, they didn't understand that you can't do that. Shouldn't do that, I guess, rather. It's not that you can't, because, I mean, that's just ridiculous. But, like, you just shouldn't. I think that he did that as a precaution. I think that, Dave and the rest of the founders, they were just like, well, we can allow, because, again, just like Raul said, money talks. They wanted to still be able to register the Merles as they had, as they'd wanted, but in order to appease the purists, the breed purists, they're like, okay, we can register them, but they can't show, so that way they're not offending the people that are,
It is a natural variant. It's a
I
natural
know.
it's a natural mutation, like you said, been there from the beginning. I think, like Rolla said in the comments earlier, I would agree 100%. It's only a matter of time.
I agree.
Absolutely. I think it's only a matter of time. I think that the problem is we live in a very different time. So, we live in a weird time where being offended is like, so I don't really know. I mean, if that's the way it works, we're offended too. Yeah,
Thank
you know what
you.
I mean?
Thank you. Good job, offended. Look at my dog. He's got more breed types than yours, and yet I can't even get in the ring.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. But like I said, you know, the main thing, I don't believe everyone should be breeding Merles. I don't believe that. But at the same time, I don't believe everyone should be breeding dogs. Right?
There we go.
I will say that, you know,
Fair.
taking a dog that you've called Merle from the beginning, making us call it blotched,
Yeah, that was
that's
kind of
kind of
weird.
weird.
We kind of do the
It's
same
Yeah.
kind
thing
of
with
weird. It's a
James.
Merle.
So we're like, oh,
Every
it's
other breed calls it
Harlequin. We're
that.
like,
But okay. So that was like, that to me was like the little loophole. Like, okay, well, we're just not going to call it Merle. That's
Yeah.
okay. You know, things, whatever, to get things done. Cool.
right.
We're in a
Oh,
different time, right? We're in a different time. I mean, the federal government has to rewrite their laws in order to keep up with the times, because there's things out there that, you know, when they wrote these rules in 1900s, that they're like, oh yeah, there's never going to be a car that can go 200 miles an hour. And then fast forward, they're like,
oh shit,
Hellcat's bad.
280.
Yeah, they're like, you're like, you know, okay, race cars on street, probably not a good idea. Yeah, sure.
Oops.
But guess what? That's why they go in. We do this thing that we all go to. If you're registered, you go to this little magical box. You just write your thing, and then you check what you agree with and what you don't, and then you put that thing in a box. And some machine somewhere counts it. They claim it's by hand. I guarantee it's a machine, and it counts all these things up. And then guess what? Our rules change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What's the difference? Every breeder who registers papers, it wouldn't be hard to get a list.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be hard. You have a whole list of everyone who's registered papers. Send them a survey.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? What do you think about this? Tally it up.
I like
See
that.
what the
I
people
like
say.
that.
Vote, yeah, give it to the people. Give it to the
Hey,
people.
Raul made a good point. You know, you have to pay to register your dogs. If everybody that had Merles and all that's being done with them in our
Boycotted.
breed, if they stopped registering them, like, hey, fine, y'all don't want them, we won't register them at all. We won't show them, we won't register them. They're like, oh, wait a minute, we don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
That
So
maybe
that's
let
when
y'all register them and
the
we'll let y'all show them. So that maybe that's the play. You know, that was an interesting point that Raul had mentioned there. So maybe the play is. It's like, hey, you're taking the money for the registry, right? You're taking the money for me to register this Merle, but you won't let me show it. So,
I think
yeah,
that there's a massive risk in doing that, because you never know how long that's going to take before they change policy, and generations can go by at that point. And I
yeah,
don't
you're
know when the
talking.
ABCC is going to stop open registration. You
Yeah.
know what I
Well,
mean?
here's the other thing with that is, you know, then if you were to do something like that, now you have to take, and you're going to have you know, all these different registries that people are running through, which I love that there's other registries. I think it gives other dogs a home.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, I will always love the BRC. The BRC, I love them. Kev, Anthony, you guys are awesome. You
Definitely
guys,
are.
you know,
Yes.
their shows are very welcoming. Whether you're the first time goer, seasoned vet, you get there. If you don't know what's going on, somebody will help you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
When I've gone
Oh,
to other registries, when I
love
have
you.
gone to other registries, when I started, I got there and I was like, what is
Yeah.
this? Yeah, you know,
Explain to
and
myself, George. Like, I don't-
yeah, and I'm like, all right, there's no Kev or Anthony to talk to. Everyone acts like they don't want to speak. So you know what I mean? Like, okay, but now like the BRC, you know, they allow Merles to show, right?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing, and I do believe that, you know, dogs like Crypto, dogs like Lamborghini. There's some other ones out there. MG2, I love that dog. He's probably my favorite Merle that's not on my yard. There's a couple of them out there I really like. I'll give everyone, you know, their kudos in a second. But there's dogs like that who should be in the ring, who we can't. And you're telling me that dog over here who had a whole, let's call it a hydraulic system put in, can show. Yet my dog can't because of his
Yeah.
pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense, bro.
it's coming
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, it's coming.
It is.
It
Gotta
has to be.
Yeah, it
be.
is.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
is.
it
Yeah.
has to be.
Yeah.
And they deserve And they deserve a place, like you said.
Mhm.
I don't understand. Just like y'all, just like everybody seems to agree. I think anybody. I mean, some people say like, oh, they don't want to mess with it, whatever. But I think a person should be able to, whether you want to or not. That's up to you. But like you said, the dog should be allowed to show, and I think that time is near. I think
So
it
I
is.
think, and don't quote me because I haven't fully. I was told it was a DQ. It's an automatic disqualification.
Yeah,
So with that, okay. So what? He can't win because
they
of his
can't really
pattern.
enter technically, I guess, right?
Can he enter or can he not win?
That's a good question. Will they let you actually go around the ring? Will they let you be examined
I
by the
don't
judge?
know
I don't
because
know.
I don't know. I don't know, and I never tested it because for me, right? So for me, my dog is more than just my dog, right? So he's my best friend. Me and him traveled last year. We did 125,000 miles in the car. Me and that dog,
Man,
just me and
that's what's up.
that dog. Okay, that boy sleeps with me. He goes everywhere with me unless I physically cannot take him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, I want him in there because he deserves it. Other people see it as, oh, he just wants to be able to show his Merles that way he can raise the fee. No, I don't care about that. Okay, that doesn't even make sense, right? But here's another thing I want to touch on. Just because a dog is winning shows doesn't mean it gets bred to. I've seen it time and time again. There's dogs that campaign amazing, they show amazing. The community don't breed to them very much.
Because they don't produce, maybe.
They might not. Well, here's the thing: is it they don't produce?
It could be.
Is
It
it
might
that they
not be. It
don't?
could be.
Is it that they don't produce, or is it that the breed standard might need updated? Because if the dog's winning grand champions and you're bringing it to another dog that's technically a grand champion,
And they're producing
they're
orphan.
producing something, and then it turns 2 years old and now it looks bully. Maybe there's other things that need to be updated, but that's, like I said, that's not for me. That's for the people who own that company to do what they do. It's their ship. They're going to run it how they want. It's all respect, but I do believe we should be having the same opportunities as the others that might have actual, health issues, but they're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's crazy, and I think that this is actually a testament to the times, is I will admit, I will admit that I started out as a breed purist, to really probably embarrassing degree. But I remember being in pit bulls, and when Merle started kind of, getting into those bloodlines, I remember being infuriated because I knew where it came from. It came from Catahoulas, which my family also had. So it
So
was just one of those things where
you're
I'm
to
just like,
blame. No, I'm
I
kidding.
love, yeah, I know it's
It's
her.
her
I
fault,
knew it.
everybody.
You don't anybody look at me. It wasn't me. But like, because I knew where it came from, that made me more upset because I knew the difference. And so I just remember that being an issue. And so obviously when I got into American Bullies and then seeing that there were Merles out there as well, I was like, oh, so it got y'all too, was my original mindset. And I think it took within the last year, I started seeing, people bringing out more Merles. And because I started going to these other registries where they have a home.
Mhm.
And I have seen some very impressive Merles. I've seen dogs that, I mean, they're better structured than some of the dogs that are winning in the ABKC ring
Yeah.
as is. And so it's just one of those things where until I saw that, I kind of, I felt the way I wanted to feel. Now I feel the way I should.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So it's like it took until physically seeing that these are American Bullies. Like they're here, they've been
Well, I mean, it was
here.
like that with the
Um,
pockets at one point, right?
Yeah.
Go back 15 years. Like people are like, they're kind of like they are about micros and stuff now. And
Yeah.
some of the really small ones, they were like, yeah, it'll never make it into the registry. Like it'll never be in the ring. But like in the beginning, but now you have pockets have more breed type than any other class. So it's kind of like, you can't take it from them now. No matter what
Yeah.
you want to say, you can't take it
Right.
from them. And
You
then
may
they go,
not have been
well,
on board at first, but
yeah, the
It's
pockets may have it, but the exotics will never have it. And then you see some, and you're like, I need a reference in this photo because it's hard to tell. Is
yeah,
that a pocket? Is that an exotic? Is that a mic? What is going on here?
yeah,
it's funny
yeah. And that's,
me.
yeah.
To me, it's funny because if you close your eyes right now, if you close your eyes and I say American Bully, what comes to your mind? What comes to mind?
It's,
What class?
it's gonna sound silly and shout out to Tyshawn. I think it's Zeus.
Yeah.
I think it's this dog Zeus.
Yeah, I would say standard is the
Yeah.
standard that would come to mind. Everything is either smaller or bigger than what is the standard.
I'd immediately go to that
Okay.
body type.
Yeah.
So for me, when I close my eyes and I think about an American Bully, I think of a very blocky-headed dog with some really distinct jaws,
Mhm.
beautiful muscle tone, looks like a strong dog. I do not think of a standard personally. I think of a pocket. Because, and the reason I'm going to say that is because in the day and age we're in, okay, in the day and age that we are in, if you tell someone they have a standard, you probably offended them.
Yeah.
Unless it's a kennel who
With that,
strictly is like, yo, I
that's
breed
what they
standards,
Well, like I said,
but that's the
I think
truth.
the pocket class is the toughest
The
class to
pocket
compete
class is
in.
the American
It's
Bully.
the
I
toughest class to
hate
compete in. There's a
being in the pocket class. I hate it. I hate it. There's too many.
there's a lot.
To
There's
me,
so
the
many.
pocket class is the American Bully. Standards, yes, that was the standard, but now here's the thing: there should be a different standard for every single class. You can't judge a micro dog like you would judge a standard dog.
They're not
Yeah,
Shakespeare.
It's
yeah, of
impossible.
course.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
You cannot, in my opinion, which this is what the best in shows for, is deciding what dog is the best in the
They
showroom.
do show different breeds in the
They do.
same
They show
shows.
different
They
breeds.
show them with different standards.
Yep.
Like high rear is not a problem with the shorty bulls like it is with an XL or
Yeah.
with
So whenever they're doing like best American Bully, let's just go to there. The best American Bully, right? The dog that wins best American Bully is the dog that closest represents the standard, correct?
Yep. You're competing against the standard.
So
yeah.
if that's the case, and if that was 100% what we're judging on, how would a pocket ever even be a thing? Or an XL,
Yeah, they stretched.
right?
They stretched. Yeah.
So each class does get judged differently, right? There's a different standard for each thing. They do everything they do judge it differently. But with that being said, at the shows, when you go to a show, the longest breed is the American Bully. Why? Because there's so many classes. You
Takes
got, if you start off
forever
with
on those.
classics, you got classics, male and female. You got, standards, male and female. You got all these things. I don't know what's up with the balloons.
I was about to say. Is
You
anybody
got
else
all
seeing
these
balloons right now?
things, right? But you can't say this class is the American Bully. You can't,
Right.
because my opinion might be different, but we can agree they should look alike.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
agree
Well,
there.
and that's the way that the breed standard is worded. Literally, the only thing that differentiates them is their height. It's easily said that anybody who studies any type of anatomy or physics, that isn't always
Thank you.
it isn't always going to work out. It is incredibly difficult to have a very, very tall, compact dog because weight distribution 101 suggests the taller it is, the longer it is.
Oh yeah, the bones are
Um,
longer, right? That's what makes it so hard to get the breed type to the XL
the
class, and
Could you
that
exception.
grab
also
Lala
makes
for
it
me,
what makes it
real quick?
easier to get it in
Can
the
you
pocket
grab me
class.
Lala?
Because like the what we call the bully look is like compact.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not dealing with a compact class, you know, you're getting harder. It's harder to do that. So I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
when you think compact, you think pocket. So I think that's why, like you
Yeah,
said,
very
to
influential with that.
agree, I agree with that part of what he said because you know, pocket would be the most compact class, and bullies are compact. So it's kind of like, yeah, they are. That's why there's so much breed type in the pocket class. You know what
Well,
I
and
mean?
being the size that they are, and any even slightly extreme feature is amplified,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
by a million. So it's just one of those things where, and it doesn't have to even be a little extreme to look extreme. Like it just is.
But my question
So,
to that though, isn't the first sentence of the breed standard basically saying your dog should be extreme?
no, actually. The only time, there's two times the word extreme is actually used in the breed standard, in the written breed standard, and
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
extremely friendly for its temperament,
Yep.
and the tail cannot be extremely short or extremely long.
Yeah.
That's it. Those only two times the word extreme is actually used in the breed standard. Now it exudes power, and strength and everything, but it doesn't actually describe them as extreme. Now, there was an extreme class up into a certain point when they basically kind of retired that and then, basically merged it with the actual breed standard for the standard itself. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, is the breed extreme in comparison to its counterparts? The pit bull, the Amset? Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, representing great strength for its size would mean it would have to have extreme features. In my opinion. Because with that being said,
It's so weird.
in my opinion, that's my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And
Maybe
I'm
again,
not
extreme in
saying that the dog should
comparison.
be a complete extreme, but it should have some
right,
extreme
right.
features in order to
Oh, no,
represent great
absolutely.
strength. It should have
Right. And
maybe
a lot of
maybe an
people,
extreme
yeah,
shoulder assembly.
yeah. Extreme head, or, like
You
there
see
is,
what I'm saying? Like something
what do
about
they
the
play?
dog is
They
going to be
play
extreme.
euphemism wow factor.
Wow, okay, we'll call it wow factor. We won't call it extreme. We'll call it wow factor. But when you think of wow factor, it's not the prancing pit bull.
Mhm.
You know, to me, the bullies are the most wow factor dog there is. I mean,
They are, I
just, I mean,
wholeheartedly agree.
obviously we're all kind of in the same boat on that, but
Oh, yeah.
they're
I
just,
love
to
my
me, they're
colleagues.
super dogs. They're the total package. They just, everything about them is next level to me in
Mhm.
comparison to other
Yeah.
dogs. I just think I love the way they look, love the way they're built. I love what we call our breed type. What that is, it's such an attractive dog. They're naturally built. You know, I was talking to the guy that has Hangman at the show in
Oh,
Spa
Lee.
City,
Yeah.
Lee Bullock,
Lee.
yeah,
Sorry.
and I said, I'm just curious. I said, I think I already know the answer, but I want to hear you say, like, what kind of exercise plan you have this dog on. And he's like, yeah, mostly like Netflix and couch potato. That's the workout. So like all that build, all that muscle, it's all genetic, man. It's not like he's
Yes.
got this guy on the
They wake
treadmill.
up
If you got it,
like
you got it,
this.
and they have it. Our breed has it, man.
Yes.
They're
My
Yeah.
built.
favorite ones when they're like, my favorite ones when they're like, what do you feed it? What do you feed it? Food.
Wow.
Because
What you
truthfully,
mean?
it might help how quick they gain or lose weight with what you feed them, but they're gonna have it or they don't. It's genetics.
Sure, there will be differences, but you're not going to get a puppy for $1,500 from the guy at the corner store and turn around and feed it Bully Max and get a nemesis. It's not going to happen.
It's not there.
No,
It's
no.
not
No,
going to
that's not how that
work.
works.
That's
It's not how
false.
that works.
Sorry. If
No.
anyone was banking on their food,
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah,
get sold
it's
into
good
the
for
food trade.
it has a lot
Now,
to do with the health of the dog, but it doesn't
the
have to do
quality
with
of
whether this
food,
dog
yes.
turns out. Yeah,
The
Yeah,
quality of food that you
absolutely.
feed is going to have a play with, the health. I mean, if
yeah,
you eat McDonald's cheeseburgers every day,
Oh, oh,
that's
right.
going to be
yeah.
a very different health than a guy who eats,
I think they made a
steak and
movie or
things.
whatever you call it about
Oh,
that.
You
Yeah,
yeah. The dude that made that,
Yeah,
supersized
yeah,
me, he
that's what
died.
it is. Supersize me. Yeah.
yep.
He died recently, like a couple days ago or something.
Did
Oh
he?
my
Yeah,
God, the
That's terrible.
irony.
supersized me guy died. I don't know of what. I haven't read it. I haven't read into it, but him dead. it's sad.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, essentially, I mean, yeah, if you feed your dogs bad food, you're going to end up with obesity, which is
Some
that's a
some
laundry
feed,
list of other things. But
you
you
know,
know, they
that
come.
there's some brands of dog food that stop your female from having a proper heat cycle.
Yeah,
Chicken
There's
read it can have
byproducts are a
people
there's
big
don't
certain
feed
problem.
it.
ingredients that, you know,
Yeah.
might do this to your dog. You know,
Mhm.
there's like, you know, the grain free kick. Everyone loves this grain free crap.
Not
Don't
good.
feed your dog that.
No,
Don't
it's not good.
don't. It's terrible for your dog's heart and many other things. But
Joints and all kinds of stuff.
joints,
Yeah,
heart, you
yeah.
name it. I mean, truthfully, good dog food. All you got to do, flip the bag over, read it.
Mhm.
If you can't pronounce it,
Yep.
Google it.
Yep.
You have this thing called a smartphone. You could honestly probably take a picture of it, copy every word, put it in your Google, and all of the bad things and good things are going to come up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So we had actually
reviews, my
tried.
personal favorite. Reviews.
Yeah, we had tried on, in with our dogs. They had never had anything but raw all their lives, and then it got winter time, and I said, you know what, we're such big, promoters of raw, but we never fed our dogs kibble. So do we really know what the difference is, right? So we switched to kibble for a while, and I can tell you just immediately the amount of shedding that the dogs did, it quadrupled. It went from like kind of being proud that our dogs don't really shed
Mhm.
to like piles of like
You're sleeping
dust
every
bunnies,
day.
like
Yeah, you're sleeping
tumbleweeds
every
in the
day.
house. I was like, what the heck is that going across the living room for? And so it just happened from the kibble.
Yeah.
And then another major thing was, of course, scratching and things like that. And I'd say, you know, their movements and stuff are very inconsistent. Energy levels a little different, and the ability to just pack on weight at the
Yeah.
speed that they can with raw, all that protein, that raw protein, raw chicken, and all that stuff. You put 10 pounds on a dog quick.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and the other big difference I've seen, so like my 100-pound dog was taking a poop the size of like a cat poop once a day. Like you could
Yeah,
put
I'm
it
wrong.
in a litter
Mhm.
box, you wouldn't know it was
Yeah.
from the dog.
Absorbing
And
everything.
Yeah,
and
it's because
then
there's no
and
there
then when
That's
I put
right.
them
there's
on
not a bunch of
kibble,
fillers and
yeah.
That's
things
right.
like I
So when
said,
I
things
put them
you
on,
can't
let's
pronounce in
say
there.
I switched to a Cana, which is $90 a bag for a 30-pound bag. It's right there with Origin. It's probably one of the best kibbles, ingredients wise, that there is, not by the
That's what it
marketing or
calls.
label, but
Yeah.
a Cana is really good. And if you have a bunch of dogs, you can't afford to feed them that hardly.
No.
But the thing about it is, but still they were pooping 3 or 4 times a day, and big piles, big piles.
Yep.
And that
Levels.
was the first two things I noticed: the shedding and the amount that they actually went to the bathroom. In a 24-hour period, went from like 1 to 4 times a day, and went from a little bit to a lot 4 times a day.
Yeah. And there's things too, like people don't realize, when it comes to kibble, like if my favorite thing is people always think by asking somebody, "Hey, what do you feed?"
Hmm.
is going to be the cure all.
Yeah.
I
No.
know
Okay.
that's not. I know
Every
that's
dog
So
is
not true.
different. That's the
for
weirdest part.
me,
Every dog is different.
for me, I feed my females, my breeding females, I feed them wellness core, the fish diet, not the grain free. I do not feed grain free. For puppies, I actually use wholesome. I get two bags. I get the beef and I get the whitefish. I mix them. The reason I mix them is the beef keeps the dogs looking pretty good, but it dries their coat out terribly. Just
The fish oil helps.
fish oil helps. But the other thing I've noticed is some of my dogs, they really, really like that fish bites. And then other ones really,
Yeah.
really like that beef. So I
Mhm.
do that. They love it. They eat it. They feel great. I mean, this girl right here, beautiful coat. I had someone come over today, and that was the first thing he said when he saw them. He said, "Oh my gosh, your dog's coat." So there are kibbles that will give you a good coat. But now, just because that's what works for my dogs,
Yeah.
it might not work for you.
Mm. Hmm.
That might not work for you.
I found the riskiest thing with kibble, besides chicken byproducts. I would say that's the most like
Yeah.
that's the first thing I'm looking to exclude. Like when I'm picking through kibbles, like
Oh
I
yeah.
know
No.
they come to me in Track Supply and PetSmart. They come to me and they're like, "Oh my God, this guy's crazy. I done ripped every brand,
Yeah.
every bag. I took it all off the shelf and I'm flipping it over and reading labels and stuff. Can I help you? No, no, you can't help
No.
me. I don't need any help. Like,
Because the thing
and then
is the
you know,
worst
and
part about it, when you go to a store that sells dog food, no one knows nothing about what they're
nothing.
trying to sell you,
Yeah,
right?
nothing,
That's like
nothing.
going to a car dealership and the guy who is the return dude at Walmart is selling you a Honda.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I want to buy that.
the chicken byproducts affect the females in breeding a lot, a lot. Like
Mhm.
they might not even take, but just due to that alone, it affects their cycles. It affects
Yeah.
their, ability to get pregnant and all that. And how many puppies they yield, it can affect all that. But behind that, I would say the riskiest thing in day to day managing these dogs with kibble has for
No,
us
crypto.
has been the
Go
high
for it.
protein.
Is in the what?
Because like so if you had 10 acres fenced in and your dogs like had a dog house, you had electrical fence, nobody's getting in or out. You don't have to worry about somebody taking your dogs or whatever, and you can just let your dog run wild like a horse on 10 acres and do whatever it will.
Let
Then
me
you
see,
could
man.
have that 30-40%, all the high protein dog foods and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and it'd be just
32,
fine.
32. That
but
chick.
but
Yeah.
if your dog is in the house or in a kennel half the time, even just while you're at work, and then that's too high a protein and it causes diarrhea, bad, real bad.
Well, yeah.
Too
Long
high of
term, it could also
protein.
cause renal failure. Long
Yeah, too
term.
too high a protein can cause you way more issues than people realize. I had a guy one time call me and he was like, "How do your puppies look so good?" I'm like, "Well, I have a very specific diet I do. My dogs are all on a very strict regimen. Like I said before in a live, I actually have alarms on my phone and my woman's phone. Both of our phones have the exact same alarms throughout the day. All of our dogs are on a very, very strict routine. I mean, the breed is not built to be outside standing in the heat for 5 hours, right? That's not something that you should be doing coming into early June. There's every summer we see it all the time. Every summer it's like clockwork. There's a lot of, rest in peace to this dog. It's terrible, but I'm going to touch on that. I do know sometimes, things happen, dogs pass. The thing that I learned at a very young age with breeding, when I was breeding reptiles, Brian Barczyk of BHB Reptiles told it to me to my face. He said, just so you know, when you play with life, you play with its ugly brother. And the more you play with life, the more you're going to see its ugly brother.
Hmm.
I've also had vets, reproductive specialist in Cleveland, Ohio, um, said that, when you breed, right? So the guy who does, this is another very common thing. You'll see people that do like 2 litters a year, and their litters go extremely well. Congratulations, we're all happy for you.
Yeah.
But when you do 2 litters a year, you're not going to see the same things and the same issues that might appear, or the same struggles that someone who might do, let's just say, 4 litters a year.
Yeah.
They're going to run into more issues, right? They're going to see things that the 2 litter guy might never see.
Yeah.
If you're that guy who does 1 breeding a year, their rates are probably extravagant. But now the people who do more litters a year, they roll the dice more. They're going to see more things. They're going to see more, early pregnant, or female going early. They might see, an issue with that. They might, they're going to see things that just you wouldn't see only on a single breeding year. You know what I mean? Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like, I know a lot of people don't get that, and they're like, oh, well, this and that. And it's like, yeah, but, you might not see the same thing. So, like, you'll see, like, people will be like, oh, I've never had this issue. And then you're like, okay, well, how many breedings have you done with your lines? And they're like, oh, we're on, our 3rd breeding. And it's like, just wait, buddy.
It's coming.
Just wait.
I think there's so many environmental variables too,
Absolutely.
that
If
have
you
to
leave
do
your
with
dog on wire
sunlight
crates
and
all day,
weather and all that, man.
I people have jobs, right? People have jobs. Okay. So they put their dog in a crate while they're gone, or a kennel. Everyone does it. If you don't, you're literally waiting to come home and find your dog choked to death on something or destroyed something that it shouldn't have destroyed, right? So when you're not home, where's the safest place for your animal? Probably in a kennel, a cage, whatever the case may be. I mean, to me, I learned that lesson probably year 2 of breeding. I had a select group of females that they were the house dogs. That's what they did. I was like, I'll never put them in a cage, blah, blah, blah. We went to dinner. One night, my daughter talked me into going to Applebee's. We went to dinner. Literally, we were gone at most an hour and a half. And I'm talking, we've left these dogs, run the house for 8-hour work days. They don't do anything. Never had an issue.
Yeah.
One of my females decided that my toilet no longer needed a shutoff valve.
No.
So we came home, and I'm like, I hear this water, and she's soaked. She met me in the living room, happy as all get out, the happiest girl in the world. She's soaked. I'm like, what happened? Like, why are you wet? And everyone else is like over there looking at her like,
She did it.
what?
She did it.
Enough. You know what I mean? And she's just so happy to show me. So I'm like, I got quiet, and I'm like, did you guys leave the shower on?
Right. You're trying to come up with, like, what did we do? Like,
Yeah, so I run upstairs and instantly out of the toilet, right where the shutoff valve is, right behind the toilet on the floor, it is shooting onto the ceiling. Luckily for me, the trajectory was hitting the ceiling and about 75% of it was going down the drain of the sink. So I got lucky there.
Oh my God.
But it was still terrible. That was the one time I was like, crappy design came in clutch.
Because who wants to stick like right here?
Yeah.
Oh,
So then that was the day. But then think about it. What if when she decided it didn't need a shutoff valve, what if she would have swallowed it?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or let's say something, they played with a pillow and they chewed it up and got the stuff stuck in their throat. My adopted mom actually told me a story a long time ago that she had a German Shepherd. Smartest dog she ever had. She paid all this money for him to be trained. They left a box of cereal on the counter. The dog shoved its head in the bag of cereal and could not get its head out.
Oh my gosh.
The dog did pass.
Gosh.
So when you think about little things like that, like who would think about that? Truthfully, I mean, do you think your dog would be unable to get his head out of the cereal bag? People don't think like that. So the safest place for your animal when you're not there is its own area.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah,
don't know,
I put mine
people
in
say
a,
that
I
all
put
the
mine in
time.
a crate. It's for their safety more than anything.
More than anything,
Absolutely.
yeah. I mean, obviously, we don't want all of our belongings getting destroyed because the dog's mad. We went to the store.
And
Some dogs do that.
They know when you're not home.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, Dad's gone. Let's turn up.
Yeah,
On the couch
absolutely.
we go.
So a terrible
You're
luck.
going to the pet store without me? Fuck
I
this
thought
cat.
she was
Screw
lying
it
to
up.
me
Like,
until she explained the backstory. The dog was like Cheerios because they use Cheerios as treats.
Oh yeah. I've heard of dogs
Something
getting their heads
so
stuck in
simple,
buckets
something
and things
so
like that.
yeah, that's something just a loving owner does with their dog. Like, oh, you like Cheerios? They're not bad for you. Here you
pulling it
go.
right out of the box from whence it comes. Like, instead of like trying to put it in and, yeah. They're going to associate that box with them Cheerios, and guess what's going to happen?
And unfortunately, she did lose her dog.
That's insane. I'm so sorry. God.
So, like for me, once my dog decided that the shutoff valve didn't belong on the toilet no more, I was like, lesson learned. That could have been way worse.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It was like, don't get me wrong. When you walk in and your toilet is spraying your ceiling, it's like, what the hell happened? So, you run downstairs, you shut it off. At the time, I didn't even own dog cages because I was that guy. I was like, no. Man, listen, that next morning, everybody had one.
Everyone gets a
Mhm.
kennel.
Everyone gets one.
When you get a kennel, when you get a kennel.
Yeah. Because if not, they're a hazard. They're prone to accidents. They're dogs.
I remember, I can't remember where we went. We were not gone for that long. And this was when our XL Adonis, he was maybe just over a year old. And he had never chewed anything he wasn't supposed to. Super good
And
boy.
one day he did.
We got home and he had so we had this giant fluffy chair and a half and an ottoman to match, right? And he loved to lay on that ottoman. That was his jam, because it was right at my feet. So that was his ottoman, right?
Yeah.
He chewed a hole this big and ripped the
It'd be
stuffing out of it.
hard for me to believe that anybody that's a breeder that's does what we do like we do it doesn't have a story to go with that, because like I'm telling you, as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, I did the
Yeah.
exact
We
same thing.
all
It's
did
predictable.
it.
Yeah.
You're like, that motherfucker made a hole in it. I know he did because he
Yeah.
did it.
We
I mean,
all
they're
we
that
all did it.
predictable.
I think every breeder starts off with the same mentality. I'm gonna breed these healthy dogs. They're never going in kennels because I'm not a backyard breeder. Well, don't put them dogs
I
in a
let my
kennel for a
pit
couple
bull.
years.
She was probably 2.5 years old. Never chewed anything up. She's really well behaved. Beautiful dog.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? We're just going out to dinner, like you said. We're gonna be gone
It's
maybe a
always
couple hours.
going to dinner, ain't it?
Let's try leaving her out. Leaving her out and seeing how she does in the house. It worked the first day, fine. Second day, I thought, you know what? We're going to work. We'll see. She probably just sleep most of the day. That's what they do anyway, right? So I would just leave her out and go to work. We come back. So all it took was the cat went into the bathroom and the dog went in the bathroom after the cat. Well, then the cat sticks his paw in the door, opens the door enough to get out, and the dog's stuck in there now. So,
Oh no.
so now the cat's out and the dog's stuck in the bathroom because of the direction the door opens, right? And
Freaking
that's
out.
all. So it freaked
That's
out, wanted out, couldn't get out. So it scratched at the bottom of the door and then started chewing it, and then it was like it ate its way out like a hellhound. Literally like demolished the door, and I came home. We had just got our place then; it was
Made
brand
himself,
new. There wasn't a scratch
made
on our
himself.
home. I can't go in there, and it's like, oh,
And how long were you gone?
just for the work day.
Yeah, see, now imagine imagine if you wouldn't have learned from
Oh,
that.
I know. I'm
How
glad
many
we
more
learned so
work
early
days,
on.
like I see these, you see the memes and stuff on Facebook where like the dog chewed a whole hole in the wall. That's real,
No,
people.
it's real.
My personal
Yeah.
favorite is the dog is sitting in the couch, and when I mean
Yeah,
in
oh yeah,
the couch,
In the
in
in
cushion,
it.
the couch, tore a hole
between the
through the
springs, in
cushions
the
and
cushion.
So
Yeah.
happy.
sitting in
So
the
happy, like look what I
couch.
did.
Yeah.
While you
Proud
were
of
gone, I
yourself.
made this awesome bed.
Yeah, just so happy, like smiling, got fibers all over his face, totally guilty, and just happy to see you. Look what
Oh
I
yeah.
did! Like,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this heifer had splinters in her lips and everything, a little bit of blood. She's like, just
bless
like,
her. Oh, God bless her. Oh,
Oh yeah.
oh man,
no.
yeah,
Man.
But that's just, I feel like there's things that you got to learn from doing it. It's just like
hands-on
breeding.
training is what that
It's
is.
just like breeding, right? You don't know. You can prepare yourself all you want, but you don't truly know how to deal with certain situations
Yeah,
when you
it's
have a
gonna be
when you're when you run into them until you run
Yeah.
into them.
When I,
Guess what? Panic sets in, and it don't matter how much research you did. You're on the phone calling Tom, Dick, and Harry. What the hell do I
Yep.
do? The mama won't lay
oh yeah,
down, or she's not producing milk.
yeah.
There's so many different variants. Or maybe she's terrified of the puppies. I've had that happen. I had a Frenchie litter one time, and she was a great dog. Never had an issue out of her. She was a very loving dog. She loved to play with dogs. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. No, no.
Terrible.
The minute she would see the puppies, and I would put her in the whelping box and lay her down, she would scream. And
Oh my gosh.
I'm not talking like a little
Like only a
whimper, like
Frenchie can
a
scream.
full blown Frenchie scream.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
If you got Frenchies, you know what I'm talking
yeah.
about.
Like a demon pterodactyl
Yeah.
scream. Yeah,
And it's like, I'm just trying to get you to take care of your babies, okay? I get it. You don't want to be a mama, never again, but we have to deal with
yeah.
this.
We got to get through this one.
So, like, it took that female. I
So
kid you not.
I feel like we're getting towards the end, but I have to open a can of worms. So the when I brought up the piebald earlier, we went another way with it, but what I was trying to get into then, that what it is that I don't think this has anything to do with whether or not we can show the Merles, but what I think a lot of breeders struggle with about the Merle or scared of with it is it's a melanin thing. I think there's a lot like, so you could be a good breeder and you had no business breeding Merles, not you but a person,
Yeah.
right? And because there's so many added elements, and we kind of went down where we talked about before where, somebody should have some kind of education before getting into certain levels of this industry. And I think Merles is something, whether there's a test for it or not, I think people really need to do their research if they're going to get into that, because the melanin is not just connected to pigment, it's connected to the ears and the eyes, and there are certain organs in the dog. And if you're making bad decisions, you wind up with deaf and blind dogs with kidney failure and things like that.
Horrific
Um,
skin disorders.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think there's a lot of risk with improperly breeding Merles that had those kind of risks that are not as easy to come by when you stay out of Merles. And so, that's like piebald, for example. It's like seas of white, islands of color, and there's very little melanin in the entirety of the dog. So when you
Mm-hmm.
take something that has very little melanin in its full makeup to begin with, and then you add something that affects the melanin like Merle, you could, like you said, you could have the most beautiful dog ever. You could have a legendary dog, but you could also very easily a generation
In
or
that
two, like you
same
said,
way.
if somebody does one or two breedings a year, like holler at me when you do 8 or 10 a year, and let's see if you can get away with it that much. Because I feel like breeding Merle and piebald and certain things like that, for example, together, I think that there's the more you do it, the more risk you run into that type of thing. Very risky to make mistakes. It can be. It can be. It doesn't have to be, but it
So
can be. You know what I mean?
you shouldn't even breed piebald to piebald.
No,
Okay.
you should.
So no.
Something that I'll probably get crucified for, blue to blue. You're not even supposed to breed blue dogs to blue dogs.
Double dilute, baby. Double dilute. Can't do it.
You, you're not, well, can't, shouldn't. So there's a difference in things. You have can't, meaning that you absolutely cannot do it. It goes bad every time. Shouldn't, meaning you probably shouldn't do it unless the dogs are tested, or whatever it is that you're doing is tested. There's facts, there's, precautions.
Yeah.
Then you have completely fine, right? Like when I say completely fine, that would be like taking, now every time I say something like that, I'm talking about just color, pattern, things like that. We're not talking about the dog.
Right,
We're
right,
talking
right,
about the
right.
genetics, specifically the appearance,
Yeah.
right? It's the same thing. It's
Phenotype
the
stuff.
same thing. Okay. So to me, if I already am breeding a dog that you should probably embark or whatever your choice of is for your testing, you're already doing that, right? So you're already playing a game of a double-edged sword, right? How many breedings have you done where you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great, she's good, he's good, this is gonna go amazing, and then Dobby comes out, something that you're like, this doesn't make sense, right? So it's kind of, to me anyway, it's just like breeding dogs. There's a certain code, there's a certain order of operations that you should take before you breed anyway.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, should you do more research into breeding Merles? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
But before you breed your first dog,
You better do
you
some
should,
research.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
100%.
already research and things that you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have the technology.
Yeah, and
It's
here's the thing, like I know a lot of people say like you got to OFA, right? You have to OFA or you're not doing anything. Okay, so the OFA, I agree there are certain things that you should do, right? But guess what? After you've x-rayed, how many x-rays have you done on females for a C-section? You can see these magical things attached to the back end of the dog called hips. Looking at that x-ray, you should be able to be like, those don't look right.
Yeah.
Or you'd be like, damn, them some nice hips. It's the same thing. If you
Yeah.
know a dog's got trash
Doesn't have
hips,
the
if you
OFA
know a dog has
stand.
a rear end issue, if you know the dog might carry hip dysplasia or comes from something with hip dysplasia, and you breed that dog, you're worse than
No,
Merle.
that hip dysplasia is a whole nother rabbit hole. It really, really is.
It
Because
really, I understand that it
because
is.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
here we go with getting crucified again. Like, I'm not going to say it's not genetic, but I'm going to say that a lot of the time, most of the time, when the dog develops that, it's from slippery surfaces when they're really, really young.
Environmental things do play
Yeah,
a
like
part.
Yes, I
if
do.
you're
We've
if
already
you
said
got
Oh,
them
that.
on a
environmental things
linoleum
could be
floor
the
from
cause of heart
birth.
murmurs. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
Yeah,
environment can literally,
true.
if you have a dog in your hands and you put it with another person whose regimen, everything is different, that dog might not do the best for them,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So now there's things with that that people don't learn, right? There's people that don't know that your dog shouldn't live on, a puppy shouldn't be on blankets its entire 9 weeks it's with you. People
Hmm.
don't know that. There's people because they didn't do research.
I think,
There's people
think
that
that
don't even
surface is a
understand.
huge deal with that, man.
There's
Big
people
time.
that don't even understand that the cartilage in the dog doesn't even start to truly develop and fuse until the dog's about 6 months old.
so stop
So all of you
overfeeding
guys
your
that have that
puppies.
cute little puppy, you have that cute little beautiful puppy that you let sit on the couch and he jumps on the ground and that thud you hear, not good.
Yeah, I made a post here a while back. They've all seen it on my Facebook where it shows X-rays of a dog, and I forget if it was like a year or 8 months, 10 months, whatever it was, but not a little puppy,
Mhm.
and it's showing the dogs. Shows the arms, and it looks like I showed it to my daughter, and I said, "Do you notice anything about this X-ray?" And she said, "Yeah, it looks like the dog's arms are broken." I said, "No, look closer," and she said, "Everywhere there's supposed to be a joint, there's not." And I said, "Yeah, that's what they say when they tell you that the bone plates are not sealed until, like, say 18 to 24 months. That's
Mhm.
what that means. That
You
means that
need
there
that.
aren't any joints in the dogs,
No,
none. That's literally ligaments and tendons and muscle
it's
So,
all
holding
soft
holding it
tissue.
together.
fucking
There's no
slow.
joint."
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
that's why I tell my kids because obviously, everything I do is with my family. So my children, all of my dogs, they're good with kids.
yeah, mine too.
My mama's, I whelp in my living room. I have a very calm household. Everything's ran a certain way. I whelp right in the living room. The reason I do that, the puppies know sounds. They're
Mm-hmm. Okay,
desensitized. You're not gonna come look at puppies and it's gonna hear a scary voice and be like, "Yo, what the hell is that?" No, I do things like there's things you can do, right? Different noises. You know what I'm saying? When I go to the front of the whelping box, I'm not always gonna be like, "Hi puppies, oh you're so cute." No, I might go in there and I might be, "Hi puppies," or I've done things like I'm cooking in the kitchen and I hear a noise that from cooking, like when that spoon hits the side of the
plank.
thing, and I'm like, "Oh, that's different." I'll go in there and do that a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
desensitizes them to things. So like the people that are like, "Oh, my dog, there was a thunderstorm, he anxietied out and didn't make it." Well, that dog probably wasn't desensitized completely as it should have been. It was, there's things that you can do with that. Like, I have one buddy, he does a lot of working breeds. So
Mm-hmm.
when he's picking puppies, he looks at dogs completely different than, what we look for.
Yeah.
So he goes in there with two pans, ding, ding. He makes noises. He might grab a phone book and slam it on the floor just to
He's
see
looking
what
for
they
the
do.
dog that's looking up like, fuck you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah, like there's certain things they look
Yeah.
for,
That's
but all of
exactly it.
those things, I haven't heard of a working breed that was terrified over a thunderstorm. I mean, yeah, they might get anxious, but they're not going to worry themselves to physical death.
I,
Yeah. No.
I
I
used to
mean,
do I used
I
to
have,
do canine training with
Hmm.
some of the police forces in Arkansas.
Yeah,
They would put me in the bite suit and do a bunch of work. I did a bunch of work with the actual police dogs.
I better.
And one of the things that I've done a lot of dog training and a lot of bite work and a lot of like recon work and things like that with these dogs. And one of the things that I learned that I didn't expect to be what it was like it was a surprising fact. So they have these dogs, these Malinois and stuff. They'll go in a house and they're fearless, right? So they try to put them in situations to make them uncomfortable, so that they're not uncomfortable when they
Yeah,
re-encounter that,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
And two things that tripped them up a lot until it doesn't. One of them was like flipping the power out in the building. So like
Yeah.
they're clearing rooms, and then they smell me. They know I'm a room or two away. They're
And then the
getting towards me,
power
Yeah.
goes
and the
out.
power goes out, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, I can't see so good." And then the other thing was changing the surface
Yep.
of the floor. So like they go from running around on carpet to a tile floor, and now it's like, well, my footing's not so good. So if he pushes me or grabs me, I can't resist as much.
Yeah.
So they're like immediately they know they're hunting somebody, and so now they're scared because their footing's not so good. And that was something that was the most
Let's get
that
it
tripped
over.
them up the most often.
Hmm.
That had to work with a lot of different surfaces for them to we used to climb up on the cop car, and they would release it from they had the door pop that hatch that said, "Hey, don't run from my dog," and then they let the dog out, and it would run, and I'm up on the roof of the car, and it's trying to go up there after me, and some of them don't feel good off the ground, some of them do, some of them, they'll come up the hood, but they won't come to the top,
Yeah. 'Cause
and
yeah,
some
the
of them are
windshield.
good on the carpet but not on the tile, or just depends on the obstacles and things like that, and that was part of the training, and I thought it was really cool, and that ties to that. So they started at a young age, just putting the dog through all these different conditions, so that when it encounters it in real life, it's not like, whoa, what is this,
Yeah, there's some shock in it.
hmm
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that was actually really fun, by the way. You wouldn't think that little lean dog would be as powerful as it is,
oh
but let me tell you right
man.
now, I was 250 pounds then, and I could get up, and if it wouldn't been for the lip on the back of the hood where the
Yeah.
windshield wipers are, that I could put my heels in and grab the lights on top of the cop car, they'd have drugged me right off of it.
Oh my
Wow.
Like,
God.
how does a 45-pound dog drag a 250-pound man that's resisting
They
off of
are
a car?
ridiculous. I remember, so when we were in Houston, my friend Mary's who I got my XL from, Mary Scribner, and
Oh, I've got her on.
we go on adventures together. And one of the adventures we went on was we watched some bite work in the Houston area, and I'm telling you, like she had to give me the warning first and foremost.
It's
She's like,
insane.
it's insane. She's like, there's going to be some aspects of this that might make you feel uncomfortable. Um, so don't panic though. Just they know what they're doing, and this is
Get me a
how it's
water,
supposed to go.
please.
So whatever you do, don't panic.
Right.
And whatever you do, whenever somebody like the dog is doing something, you have to be completely silent and never jump into the area that they're in. And I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh my God, totally against every instinct I have. But man, watching those small, like, because you're right. I mean, they're like 40 some odd pounds, and they are killers.
The
I like
intensity is
they're
unreal
the
with those dogs.
focus. Oh my God, the focus.
So
I
It's
had
it's
a
the thing with the Malinois is their prey drive is out of this world, and they
ridiculous.
train them with a tennis ball, and they'll die for that ball. Like, you could throw a tennis ball, you could hum it off a 5,000-foot cliff, and it would
They
never
going.
hesitate,
No, they
run
going.
full speed, and jump off the cliff and go after the ball all the way to the ground. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
never even think about it. And then, so when they train them to find drugs and things in cars, they actually the dog thinks that when it finds the drugs produce the ball.
Oh my gosh.
So the cop, even if he pulls you over, he's got the ball hid in either in his pocket or in his collar. And
Mhm.
when the dog's sniffing the car, if he points out something, and they go in there and find it, when they find it and they go in, the dog's sitting there waiting, watching, they put the ball in there with it and pull it out with it. So like, oh, the ball's here. So you found this, now the ball's in there with it. And that makes them, that drives them to look for it. That's
Oh,
how they train. That's how they train them. I thought that was crazy.
It is
Yes,
crazy.
he
that is
thinks
impressive.
he thinks finding the dope produces the ball.
Yeah,
That's what they think.
I
Yeah.
had I had a
Whatever
Malinois for a few
works.
years. Um, I had a Malinois for a few years. His name was Hero. He was Hero was a badass.
He was Malinois.
Yeah. So I got Hero from a guy named Richard Price. Richard Price got him from Clark Nematalo, and he was a very accomplished Malinois. I mean, we could literally do anything with that dog. His protection work, uncomparable.
Yeah.
Uncomparable. You couldn't shake my hand if you moved too fast. Now, he had a very good assessment. His assessment, the way he would assess things, he was very, very good. But like, you couldn't move too fast. Like, my buddies used to come over, and like, you know, when your friends come over, they always like want to push you. Yeah, that don't go good.
Yeah, they're gonna run.
So like, you have to
My dog
understand,
hates
like with them dogs, you don't have a dog. You have a weapon with a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
You have a free
So a lot of
weapon.
people seen that movie, whatever that movie was. I didn't even watch it. Whatever that movie was that came out with the Malinois that made this whole Malinois craze. It's a working dog. If you have an apartment, don't go buy one. If you don't have hours to spend with this dog a day, do not go buy it. It's going to go stir crazy. They're a very smart dog. They do create their own scenarios when they don't have a job.
Might as well put a cane corso in the group with that.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, there's
yeah, they
multiple
needed that.
breeds. I mean, shepherds even.
Shepherds are really bad. Yeah, any kind of shepherding or herding dog of any kind. Healers. Oh, God.
Yeah.
The amount of people that get healers or Australian shepherds that have no clue. They just like the pretty colors and how fluffy or, you know, how ticked they are. And I'm just like, that dog is going to ruin your life.
Yeah,
It's
even
going to ruin your life.
schnauzers.
Gosh, schnauzers.
People think, oh, they're so elegant. Listen, that dog, that is a
But
working
like the
horse.
giant schnauzers.
Yep.
Yeah, that dog will eat your mama.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious.
Mama.
They're
100%.
elegant. They're so beautifully elegant. I don't know if you've ever seen them at the dog shows.
Yep.
I've never seen gorgeous beyond measure, right? Will eat your mother.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. We'll eat her all too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, but
hey,
I hate to be that guy, guys.
go! I just realized
But
the time. You're right.
it's a little later than planned, but that's fine. So, I do appreciate you guys having me on here. If there's anything you guys want to dive into real quickly before we finish, you know, we should probably do that. I hate being that guy.
No. I totally forgotten the time, and I knew that you had something on after this. So before we leave, definitely reiterate because
Yeah.
we'd love to have people join you for that. Bruce, our co-host, he had actually asked because he's at work right now, so he was asking questions via comment. He had asked a question much earlier on. We just didn't get to it. When it comes to line breeding, describe basically what your approach, your policy, your protocol when it comes to Merles, knowing that you will want to line breed eventually. How does that affect you?
How does line breeding affect me?
How does having Merles affect your line breeding?
Okay, so I'm trying to think of the easiest way to explain it. With line breeding, you're selective.
Mhm.
Okay. Should be anyway. If you're line breeding Merles, you do have to be a little bit more selective because obviously you're going to do a little bit more testing, as people would call it, but I call it standard. When you do it, like the thing that I would say, here's the thing, right? So like for my specific situation, most of everything I do is an outcross because my dog, like I run very thick Lucky blood personally.
Yes.
So because Crypto's descends from a lot of, like Lucky was a big foundational piece to Crypto. Lux was off of a Lucky daughter. My boy is double Lux, but they inbred. They took Lux back to his mom. That produced JD. JD was a completely healthy chocolate tri-American bully. They bred her to Haka. That's what produced Lamborghini. Then they bred Lamborghini back to a Lux daughter. That produced Crypto and Eddie. So to me,
Betty.
line breeding, it's the same thing,
Yeah.
right? So just here's the only difference, okay? The only difference that I run into is because I am a Merle fanatic. There are a lot of dogs that like I'm like, oh, it's beautiful. But here's the thing: when I assess my litter, I don't look at them and be like, that one's Merle. That's the one, right? No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like the litter I did crypto to Gelato. Gelato is a Blue Dream daughter, the mom's side. Parkour. Parkour is off of Bowser bred to a lucky daughter, right? So a very, very tight lucky line.
Yes.
Lucky
Very
works
much so.
amazing with my blood because it's a foundational piece. Now, I bred crypto to Gelato, yes. But with the outcrosses, it was a very, very strategic line breeding. But there's enough outcrosses in there that when I say, yeah, it's 6 times lucky, when you look at it on paper, you'll find 6. But you're going to find outcrosses, and you're going to
Right.
find
You're gonna find
a very
out
strategic plan
process.
that got
Yeah.
us there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't take credit for all of that because, you know, Lux started. Lux was produced by Jason Dyson. Okay. Then he sold Lux to Edwin Handyman over in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good friend of mine. He bred Lux back to Patty. That produced JD. Or, or my fault. Him and Jason did. And that produced JD. They took JD, bred her to Haka to get Lamborghini, Bugatti, Mercedes, this beautiful litter, and then line bred.
That was a good
So to
heavy
me,
litter.
I know that line breeding things, when done correctly, can help you make beautiful dogs. But at the same time, if you just go willy nilly and you're like, nah, that's the dog I started with, that's the dog I'm ending with. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. You can't just line breed 67 times and you're gonna get the best thing. No, that's not how it works. You know, there's some people that breed specifically to the pedigree. They read a pedigree. They're like, oh, this is 32 times this dog. I'm breeding it to 63. I'm gonna be the first time with 100, and you're gonna like it. And it's not gonna look shit like nothing in this pedigree.
No, it will not. I'll have
Some
an
people
ungodly
breed
amount of
like
people.
some people breed like that.
That's so sad.
I don't. I breed to the dog in front of me. That's
Yeah.
why, like, R2G2, for example. R2G2 is a beautiful dog. I
Animal.
I am breeding a crypto daughter. Her name's Melissa. I'm breeding her to R2G2. That to me, like when I look at a stud that's not in my yard and I'm like, I like that dog. I might incorporate that, right? I build the female. If I don't have the female, I'll build it. So
Yeah.
I'll lock my dog, the breeding in. I'll lock my breeding in, and then I'll wait. I'll work. This is the dog. This is the one. This is the one that I'm doing it with, right? Why Melissa? Melissa is crypto to Bella. Bella is double eminent boss granddaughter. Um, the look of the dog, she looks literally like a little bit shorter version of crypto with a little less mass. She looks like a female version of crypto.
Yeah.
That's the perfect female, in my opinion, for my camp to breed to a dog that's not in my camp.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's an outcross. Why would I do another outcross to an outcross? Well, the reason I did that is because at the same time, I have Melissa's sister, Laura. Exact same dog, except one's not Merle. So
Uh-huh.
what I did was Laura, we took her back to crypto.
There we go.
We bred her back to crypto.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep a male and a female out of there. And my R2 breeding, I'm going to keep a male and a female out of there.
Lily.
Now I've set up to continue my
Yep.
line breedings and working my blood, but there's an outcross in there that is just different.
It's just one now.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a
helps
good
to
one. You
offset.
know, I'm not taking and breeding to a dog that is a complete health hazard. I'm not breeding my dog to a dog that I can look at it and be like, that thing's gonna throw some problems. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So, but
Flirting with
people do.
puppy.
What do you know about
So
this
like,
little character?
Hmm?
What do y'all know about this little girl here?
I know where she's from. Caleb knows where she's from.
Yeah. No.
I don't. I'm sorry.
It came from Caleb.
Caleb.
Oh,
It came from Caleb.
did it?
Yeah.
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 I was
Hey,
like, I'm not
Don,
sure.
Don, man, I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it, man. I haven't talked much. I've been listening, man. So thank you.
Mhm. I know, right?
Yes. Thank you for your time, man. A lot of good, useful information that was passed to me.
Good.
Yeah, I thank you guys for having me on here. I hope that we were able to answer some questions for people.
You definitely did.
I hope that with all of it being said, I'm not no scholar. I didn't go to college. I'm probably not gonna explain it to you on the deepest of scientifical things of X, Y, Z, B, Y, Q. But what I can tell you is from experience, research, and having good mentors. You know,
Oh, yes.
I mean, I have countless people that I look up to that I ask them when I run into a question and I'm like, I don't know about this. I have breeders that I look up to. Shout out Edwin Handyman, Jason Dyson, Alex Ferrero, Devin. There's a list of them. Really good people. Like I would say, if you want to get into breeding, get you a good teacher, somebody who is don't doing it right. Like, don't go to Joe Schmo who told you he had this dog that was popping in 1932, because it's a different world. It's a different world. Talk to someone who's been dealing with the breed for a long time. Talk to someone who knows about everything that you're going to want to know. I mean, you're going to want to know about whelping, right? You probably shouldn't talk to someone who's never successfully whelped a
Right.
litter.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to Merles, I tell people all the time, just because it's not off my dog and you have a question doesn't mean I won't help you. I'll help you. I'll
Right.
explain to you what I can. But with that being said, if it's not off of my dog, I can only tell you what I think, because
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
nothing about that dog. I don't know its parents' history. I don't know any of that. I can only give you an assessment from probably a video you sent me,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
if I
Whatever
put
you
hands
send me,
on
that's
the
all I'm
dog,
basing
things
this
like
off of.
that.
And that's still kind of,
But I
yeah.
don't mind helping in that aspect. But everyone should have a good teacher off the bat.
I agree.
Number two, this is not something you're going to get into and make $1 million. People think, oh, people breed Merles just so they can make more money. Okay, just so you guys all know, we have the same overhead cost as you. Some, we'll touch it like this. There's a lot of very successful dogs who sold for more than most Merles sell for, and they're solid colored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is that. Now, I will say this though, rarity is a factor. And,
No. No.
no matter how you do it, no two Merles will ever be 100% the same. They're always going to be different because they're random.
Yep.
You'll never get the exact same pattern. You might get two split faces, but they're going to be different. Somewhere
Mm-hmm.
on the dog, it's different. So yeah, I would say that to answer that question that everyone asks, there is a different market, right? It's like everything else, Nike does not have the same market as Louis Vuitton,
Right.
right? Honda doesn't sell cars to the same people that Bugatti does.
Nope.
It's a different market.
Yep.
It's just, it is what it is. But if you just want to breed Merles because you think you're going to make a bunch more money, that's the wrong way to go about it. That's the wrong way to go about breeding any animal.
Agreed.
It's not cheap to maintain. You're going to have to buy dog food. You're going to have to go to the vet. What happens if you wake up today and your puppy is limping? Do you have the money to potentially go spend hundreds and maybe thousands of dollars at the emergency vet today? Those are things you have to take into consideration, you know? So getting into breeding any animal, Merle, Blue, don't care. Don't do it for money. It's not the right approach. You have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to love dogs, or two things is going to happen. Your dogs are going to be miserable. So are you. And you're not going to make no money because your heart's not in it and you didn't do it right.
Yep. Yep.
You know,
Those are the byproducts. Most definitely. For sure. Well,
that's
that's actually
pretty much my take.
no, that's great though, because typically we end with asking, you like what you would advise for someone getting into the game, and you literally just answered it without even being asked. That's amazing. That's perfect, actually. That's
Yes.
so
Sweet.
now that you've completely ruined my outro,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean
I know
to. You kind of left it in the
that
air.
was beautiful. It was actually a thing of beauty. I'm really appreciative. It was just so fluid. So alternatively, we hear that you have something going on directly after this that you're about to move to on your page. Did you want to kind of talk about that, or do you just kind of want to leave it a fun mystery and just have everybody join you there?
I will say this. It's an opportunity for somebody. If you are interested in a potential opportunity or even just entertainment, maybe head over to the page and check it out. If you don't want to look, don't go. I'll leave it like that.
Hey,
I'm a very simple person. Like I said, I don't try to force feed my beliefs onto people. That's why everything I've said in here,
I
I've
agree.
even said, that's my opinion. Yes, my opinion is based off of facts and experience, but that's my opinion. I'm not going to beat it down your throat. You don't like Merles? Okay. I understand. You don't like dog breeders? Okay. I understand. I'm not a fan of cats myself. I'm not gonna force you, but I do have other beliefs when it comes to like the registry and things like that, but we've already touched that.
Yeah.
That's kind
Well,
Right.
of intertwined with just the breed.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, for anybody that's been able to tune in at any point, during the live, if you missed any of it, definitely worth a rewatch. So be looking for us to repost it after we go ahead and sign off. And if like you found something that you really, really enjoyed, share. I mean, it's one of those things where we have a lot of people that can't join in, during this time frame. So share it, and that way you can watch it later, they can watch it later, and get all this great info, because Don has really just kind of opened a lot of doors to some new information that people just wouldn't really have considered or thought about. So, but yeah, now that we're about to sign off, definitely go to his page. He's got something going on directly afterwards, so that way you can join him there and see what he's got going on. It'll be interesting for sure. And then, yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. And Don, thank you again so much for being willing to come on here with us and talk about something that is pretty hot topic, and, giving us more insight into something that there's a lot of trepidation about. So I think that kind of eases some thoughts on that.
I agree. First and foremost, thank you guys for having me. I definitely appreciate it. It's an honor to even, be considered to touch a subject like this, so I do appreciate that. If you watched it, you don't agree with me, I'm sorry. You can inbox me and we can have a professional discussion about it and talk about it, but I don't argue with people. I won't respond if you want to argue. If you learned something, I'm glad that I was able to help with that. If you have, a couple more questions about things, feel free to reach out. I pretty much run an open book. You have a question about something, I don't mind answering it. Pretty much that's about it, guys.
Nice to
Thank you for having me.
meet you.
Nice meeting everybody.
Sure.
Maybe we'll hop back on eventually in due
Yeah.
time.
Absolutely.
Other than that, reach one, teach one. Hope everybody learns something. And if you're not, don't be scared to paint the world. It's a beautiful thing. I promise.
There we go.
Yay, I'm here
With
for it.
that, everybody have a blessed
Bye.
night.
You as
Yeah.
well. Bye, you guys.